And it is written that in the year 63 BC, the Roman legions, like a scourge of locusts, poured through the east, laying waste the land of Canaan and the kingdom of Judea. Rome's imperial armies, a tumult in the hills, struck Jerusalem's walls in a 3-month siege. Breaching the gates, these legions laid the dust of battle with a shower of blood. Under the eye of General Pompey, the holy city fell, her people strewn like wheat in the harvest time of Rome. While Pompey, triumphant, dared take the last high place, the still living heart of the city, the temple. Here, on this most sacred ground in all Jerusalem, now Pompey's horse took its way. Where no pagan had ever set foot, in the court of the priests, most irreverent Pompey stood himself down. At last, here was the fruit of the harvest. Here, it was said, lay the treasure house of Jehovah, great statues of gold as bright as the sun in this ancient land. So Pompey, burning for the touch of precious metals, entered the sanctuary.
Okay, Shalom. This is the brother Lamadia coming back to you, and this is part 2 of the video I just done of rebellion against Rome. And what we just watched was a clip from a film entitled King of Kings, and that was a scene of Pompey entering the land of Israel and the fall of the temple. And that was the beginning of Roman occupation of Israel. Now, I'm going to go to Wikipedia.org and we're going to read the siege of Jerusalem of 63 BC. Now, it says, the siege of Jerusalem, 63 BC, occurred during Pompey the Great campaign in the east, shortly after his successful conclusion of the third mid-Ractic war. Pompey had been asked to intervene in a dispute over the inheritance to the throne of the Hasmonean kingdom, which turned into a war between Hyrcanus II and Archibald II. Now, Salakia, I don't pronounce these names correctly, but it said his conquest of Jerusalem, however, spelled the end of Jewish independence and the incorporation of Judea as a client kingdom of the Roman Republic. So keep in mind, it says here, however, spelled the end of independence in the incorporation of Judea as a client kingdom. So this was the beginning of Israel losing their independence and the beginning of the oppression of the Rome. So now let's go to Matthew 11 and 12, and it reads, and from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. Now, the violent is referencing towards the Roman Empire, beginning first with Pompey, and the kingdom of heaven is referencing towards the nation of Israel. It says, for all the prophets and the Lord prophesied unto John, and if ye will receive it, this is Elias or Elijah which was to come. So since the day of John and Yahushua coming on the scene, Israel is being occupied by the Roman armies. So that led to a lot of frustration among the Israelites that was fighting for their freedom, or that was seeking their freedom or their independence, which rose or was led into a lot of rebel groups. And going back to part one, which I mentioned, this is why Yahushua had to often time talk about being carnal minded, or he that liveth by the sword shall die by the sword, and which was later reiterated by the apostle Paul. Go and we read Romans the 13th chapter along with other scriptures, but I'm gonna read the Romans the 13th chapter because Romans the 13th chapter is a very popular scripture and sometimes be used for manipulation. But let's read it with better understanding. So this is the first verse of Romans the 13th chapter, and it reads, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. So let's break that down. Let every soul be subject to the higher power. Now at that time it was the Roman Empire. For now this is Paul speaking to the Israelites at Rome. She said, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. So this superpower that we see on the earth, Paul was telling them that is of the Most High, and everything is of prophecy. Verse 2, whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of the Most High. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation, meaning destruction. Because Paul gonna later explain why you gonna receive damnation or destruction, because everything is orchestrated by the Lord. Verse 3, for the rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. So if you're making threats that you're gonna do this and that, that's gonna lead to your demise, because Rome was already set up to be, in power for that moment of time. Now it reads, wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. Now it says here, so that's it, and that's it on that. So Paul just letting them know, like, listen, you got to obey what the Most High has ordained. Until the Most High said he's ready to take them down. So now let me see something. So lock it. Give me 1 second. Let me go to Matthew. And let me see. Where should I start from? Okay, I'm starting at 15. This is Matthew 22 and 15. Then went the Pharisee and took counsel how they may entangle him in his talk. Now the him is referencing toward Yahweh Shah, verse 16. And they sent out unto him their disciples with the Herodians or Herodians, saying, Master, we know that thou art true and teachest the way of the Most High in truth. Neither carest thou for any man, for thou regardest not the person of men. Now these was the wicked of the Pharisees that was saying this. So they were trying to butt up Yahweh Shah to say something that they could use against him and as an accusation. So now verse 17, tell us therefore, what thinkest thou? Is it lawful to give tribute unto Caesar or not? So now they was only asking him this question to set him up, because if he would have said no, they would have brung that accusation and will say that he's trying to raise a rebellion against Rome, and then Yahushua would have been grabbed up. So that was their whole aim. Now this was Yahushua said, but Yahushua perceived their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? Because Yahushua, because at that time you had a lot of guys, you had a lot of groups that was saying, nah, don't pay no tribute to Caesar. You know, fuck them. But Yahushua wasn't coming in that mindset, because he already knew it was the Most High that was gonna bring them down. So going back to verse 18, but Yahushua perceived their wickedness and said, why tempt ye me, ye hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought unto him a penny, and he said unto them, who is this image and subscription? They say unto him, Caesar's. Then say he unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things which are Caesar, and unto the Most High the things that are the Most High's. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left them and went their way, because Yahushua already knew what their aim was, you know, because they just wanted Yahushua to slip up so they could use that and say, this guy trying to start a whole new regime. That was their whole aim. So now let's go to Acts 21 and begin at 37. And as Paul was led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee? He said, may I speak unto thee? Who said, canst thou speak Greek? Art not thou that Egyptian which before these days made us an uproar and led us out into the wilderness, 4,000 men that were murderers? So now look into the word murderers. Okay, give me a second. Let's see what that say there.
Strong's G 4607, Sicarias. Sicarias.
Where you get the word Sakari, and it says an assassin, one who carries a dagger or a short sword under his clothing, that he may kill secretless and treacherously anyone he wishes to. Then it says, definition B, a cutthroat. Now read down Strong's definition. Sakarius, Latin origin, a daggerman or assassin. Because when you go into the history of the Sakari, which was a fraction from the Zealots, um, they was anonymous for um setting up hits to anyone that was pro Rome. And what they would do at time is cause a diversion in a crowded place and poke somebody up with a dagger and disappear in the crowd. Or if you was if you was somebody that had high influence or somebody notable, they would try to take you out. That's why the word there for Sicarios were translated as murderers, because these guys was known to be murderers. And Paul was mistaken for a member of Sakari, going to show you how much resistant there was against the Roman tyranny. But verse 39, but Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarshish, a city in Sicily, a citizen of no mean city, and I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto this people. And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with the hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue. So Paul spoke to them in Hebrew, and the point was he was mistaken for a member of Sakari. So that's why a lot of we read in the scriptures about like Romans 13th chapter, and certain scriptures represent towards being carnal, because now the word carnal derives from Latin, means carne, which means flesh. A person that feeds off the flesh, that's a person that is impulsive. Now let's read a little bit about the Sakari and who they was. Now this is from historyofyesterday.com. The Sakari, the first assassins in history. If you were pro-Roman Jew living in the 1st century AD, you were afraid to go to Jerusalem without bodyguards. You were afraid of the Sakari. The Sakari will come out of nowhere. They will stab you and disappear in the midst of the screaming of the terrorized bystanders. Who was the Sakari? The world's first assassin. Now it says Roman occupation of Judea started the resistant movement. What resistant movement? The rebellion and these uprising groups against Rome. Because one of the things they was fed up with was the taxation. In 6 AD, Roman Emperor Augustus annexed what was then a client kingdom of Judea into the Roman Empire. In the same year, Julius of Galilee founded a resistant group to fight against the Romans. Their name was the Zealot. The first act of rebellion was resistance to the Roman tax census. Also, they burned the houses and stole the cattle of those Jews who complied with the Roman orders. So they was pretty much killing any Israelite that was in agreement with Rome. So that's another reason why we read about the publicans, which was tax collectors. They was looked at as sellouts. And then you had Sakari going around just killing them off. Now it says also they burned the houses and stole the cattle of the Jews who complied with Roman orders. They action instigated the great Jewish revolt. Now, let's look at AlZhar, right? Let's see who was the real AlZhar. Now you got the AlZhar Ben Simon or Bun Simon, with Ben or Bun means son. So it says AlZhar was a zealot leader during the First Jewish-Roman War who fought against the army of Caestius Gallus, Vespasian, and Titus Flavius. From the onset of the war in 66 CE until the destruction of the temple in 70 CE, he fought vehemently against the Roman garrisons in Judea and against his fellow Jewish political opponents in order to establish independent Jewish state at Jerusalem. See, he was fighting for independence. So that means what? He didn't understand what the scriptures. Like he was because the word zealot means zealous, meaning he was passionate about bringing down Rome and setting up Israel and back into the independence, or giving Israel back to independence. But he didn't understand the purpose of Yahweh Shah. You know, because during his time, you had that was going into the book of Acts. You had people teaching such as Paul, Peter, and the apostles, breaking down what Yahweh Shah did. But this guy didn't get the memo, because he was carnal. The same way the AlZhar today. This guy today don't understand the purpose of Yahweh Shah. But with that, I'm gonna close, and Lord willing, this video was edifying. Till next time, I'm gonna say Shalom. And again, I'm gonna give all praise and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. Shalom.